the mystery of Amelia Earhart's disappearance might finally be getting some answers. For decades, people have searched for the wreckage of her plane, trying to figure out what happened during her last flight. Earhart vanished on July 2, 1937, while attempting to fly around the world. And since then, researchers, historians, and adventurers have been digging for clues about her fate. The intrigue around her final journey has led to all sorts of theories, from crash landings to wild conspiracies. After 87 years of searching with little success, a major discovery has come to light. They've found Earhart's plane. This is huge, not just for solving one of the biggest mysteries in aviation, but also for helping us understand more about what happened that day. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more updates. Now, finding her plane offers a chance to learn what really went down in 1937. The Lockheed Model 10 Electra was a groundbreaking aircraft meant for Earhart's ambitious around-the-world flight. But her last radio messages from July 2nd indicated she and her navigator, Fred Noonan, were having trouble near Howland Island in the Pacific. For years, the popular theory was that they ran out of fuel and crashed into the ocean. However, with the wreckage found far off their planned route, it suggests they might have been way off course. This discovery gives researchers some real evidence to work with, allowing them to trace Earhart's last movements more clearly. The remains of the Electra can give us hints about its condition when it went down. Was the plane functioning well, or did it have issues? Were Earhart and Noonan battling with broken equipment, running low on fuel, or facing bad weather that threw them off track? Up until now, no one knew for sure, but these new findings could help answer all these questions. What do you think we'll uncover next? Finding Amelia Earhart's plane could finally answer a lot of questions that have puzzled people for years. This is such a big deal not just for history buffs, but also for those who admire Amelia, who was not only an amazing pilot, but also a symbol of women breaking barriers at a time when society had strict ideas about what women could do. She was a true pioneer, showing that women could achieve anything, even in male-dominated fields like aviation. Now that her plane has been found, we can celebrate her life and accomplishments without all the mystery overshadowing her legacy. For so long, her disappearance has sparked tons of theories, from the believable to the downright crazy. Some thought she was captured by Japanese forces, while others believed she lived on a deserted island or even came back to the US with a new identity. These stories show just how fascinated people are with Amelia, and how they create wild narratives to understand what seems impossible. But now, with the plane located, many of these theories can be put to rest. This discovery isn't just about history, it's also important for science and technology. Searching for her plane was no small feat, since the Pacific Ocean is vast and the wreck was deep underwater. Thanks to new underwater search tech like sonar mapping and deep-sea drones, researchers managed to find the wreckage. This successful mission could open doors for future explorations and show us how technology can help uncover secrets beneath the ocean. And it's not just about Amelia. This find could spark more interest in studying other lost planes throughout history. What other mysteries could we solve next? Airplanes have vanished without a trace, leaving families and historians scratching their heads. Take the search for Amelia Earhart, which stretched over decades and involved teamwork from countries all over the world. It shows just how much determination and resources people can pull together when a mystery like this grabs everyone's attention. Could this inspire similar efforts to find other missing flights, like Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 that disappeared back in 2014? What's amazing is that the lessons learned from finding Earhart's plane might help with future searches in tough, remote places. The discovery of her wreckage highlights the dedication of those who kept the search going for almost 100 years. While many had given up hope, a committed group of researchers, inspired by their admiration for Earhart and their drive to solve the mystery, didn't stop looking. Their hard work paid off in the end. This quest to find answers mirrors the adventurous and fearless spirit that Earhart had herself. She was all about exploration and pushing limits, always looking for new horizons. Those searching for her plane shared that same desire to uncover the truth, no matter how long it took. What's really striking about Earhart's disappearance is how it caught the world's attention back in 1937, when news didn't travel as fast as it does today. The word about her missing aircraft spread quickly, taking over international headlines. People were totally invested, following every update on the search for both her and her navigator, Fred Noonan. Earhart wasn't just an aviator, she was a global superstar. The mystery surrounding her disappearance went beyond borders. The world's fascination with her remains a testament to her larger-than-life personality and incredible achievements. Even after her disappearance, she remained a figure of awe and admiration, and finding her plane only adds to that intrigue. Recovering her aircraft isn't just about solving the story of her last flight. It's also a tribute to the spirit of exploration that drives human progress. Earhart's ambitious plan to fly around the globe was a bold challenge that pushed the limits of what people and technology could do. Even though her journey ended in tragedy, Amelia Earhart's bold vision opened doors for future explorers and adventurers. Finding her plane reminds us of the risks that come with pushing boundaries, but also highlights the amazing things we can accomplish when we dare to dream big. What can we learn from her story and its connection to aviation history? Earhart's disappearance used to leave a big question mark in the early days of long-distance flight. Back in the 1930s, aviation was just getting started, and pilots and engineers constantly pushed the limits of what planes could do. Earhart was leading the charge in these advancements. Her goal to fly around the world showed how confident people were becoming about using aviation to connect different parts of the globe. Recovering her plane lets historians take a new look at that era. They can dig deeper into the challenges she faced and better appreciate the innovations that made her journey possible. Earhart's flight represents a major cultural shift happening in the 1930s. It was a time when transportation and communication were making the world feel smaller. Her trip symbolized the desire to overcome distances, connect continents and cultures, and prove that the world was becoming more linked together. Finding her plane serves as a reminder of how much progress we've made since then, but it also highlights how important exploration still is in our more connected world. Even as we explore space, Earhart's story teaches us about the challenges and rewards of diving into the unknown here on Earth. Another interesting point about this discovery is how it helps us understand risk in exploration. Amelia Earhart took on a dangerous journey, and just because she didn't survive doesn't take away from how meaningful her efforts were. Exploring the unknown means stepping into areas where success and safety aren't guaranteed. Earhart knew the risks but chose to press on anyway, understanding that expanding knowledge and pushing boundaries was worth it. Finding her plane reminds us that remarkable achievements often come with great risks. So, while there's a personal cost to all of this, it also leaves behind a lasting legacy that goes beyond just individual stories. One big area people will be looking into is the mechanics of the Lockheed Electra 10E, which was a top-notch plane for its time, ready for long flights. But it wasn't without problems, and now experts will get to check out its condition at the time it crashed. Was there a mechanical issue? Did one of the engines fail and lead to the crash? Knowing how the Electra was doing in its last moments could help us figure out if Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan faced unexpected mechanical issues, or if mistakes by the pilots or bad weather played a bigger part. The plane's condition might also help us understand the fuel situation. A popular theory for years has been that Earhart simply ran out of fuel while searching for Howland Island, which was supposed to be a refueling stop in the middle of the Pacific. But there's always been some doubt about whether she miscalculated how much fuel she needed, or if strong winds and navigation problems sped up the fuel use. By looking closely at the wreckage, investigators could find clues about the fuel tanks or systems that monitored fuel levels, helping to settle whether running out of fuel was really the main reason for the crash. Another interesting thing to check out is the radio equipment on the Electra. Earhart's last radio messages were a bit confusing, and some were hard to understand for those trying to reach her on the ground. Did her radio mess up when she needed it most, preventing her from calling for help? Or were outside things like bad weather or poor antenna placement causing the trouble? Taking a close look at the radio gear, if it's still intact, could give us some valuable hints. Radio communication was essential for Earhart as she flew over vast oceans, and understanding what happened with her last messages is key to solving the mystery of her disappearance. Plus, recovering the wreckage opens up new opportunities to dig into the navigation methods that Earhart and Noonan were using back in the 1930s. What secrets might the wreck reveal? Back in the day, aviation navigation was nothing like the precise GPS we have now. Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan had to rely on dead reckoning, looking at the stars and radio signals to find their way across the Pacific. They ended up way off from Howland Island where they wanted to land, which hints that something went wrong with their navigation. By taking a good look at the instruments on board and any charts or notes that survived, researchers might piece together their journey and figure out how they got lost so tragically. Looking into what happened to the Electra also helps us understand the bigger picture of aviation in the 1930s. It was a time when flying was moving from the impossible to something we could actually do, and Amelia's attempt to fly around the world really showed this shift. She faced lots of challenges, whether it was tech problems, navigation hiccups, or bad weather, which were all part of what early pilots had to deal with. By investigating her plane, experts can learn more about the limits of aviation back then and how these limits played a role in her disappearance. But the discovery of the plane isn't just about aviation history. It connects us to Amelia as a real person, not just a famous name. Finding personal items in the wreckage, like clothes or flight logs, could give us a glimpse into her and Noonan's thoughts and feelings during their last journey. For instance, if they found a log or a map, it might show what Amelia was thinking when she realized they were off course. What choices did she make under pressure? How did she cope with the stress? These small human details might help us relate to her story better. This discovery also brings back interest in Amelia's personal journey, the emotions and cultural backdrop that shaped her final flight. Amelia wasn't just flying, she was navigating her own path through history, and this lens helps us see her not just as an aviator, but as a person with dreams and struggles. Amelia Earhart wasn't just flying planes, she was also pushing through a world that often limited women, especially in male-dominated fields like aviation. She really wanted to show everyone that women could do anything men could do, and her bravery in facing all these challenges is what keeps her story alive today. Finding her plane makes us think about her boldness and her refusal to let society dictate what she could achieve. It reminds us of the risks and sacrifices that come with breaking boundaries, both personally and professionally. Her disappearance is more than just a missing person case. It became a symbol of our human urge to explore and conquer new frontiers, even when it's dangerous. Discovering her plane gives us some closure to one of the biggest mysteries of the 20th century, but it also reminds us of the risks that come with exploration, risks that we still face today as we reach for new heights, whether in the sky, outer space, or even the ocean depths. Amelia's journey teaches us about the courage it takes to step into the unknown. When they found her plane, it wasn't just about digging up historical facts. It touched on our shared need to understand the unknown and find closure for stories that seem unresolved. Amelia's disappearance left a gap that generations of explorers and dreamers wanted to fill. The search for her aircraft captured people's imaginations because it was more than solving a mystery. It was about grasping the essence of risk, exploration, and the human spirit. In the years following her vanishing, Amelia became larger than life. She featured in books, movies, and documentaries, her legend growing as more time went by without answers. But finding her plane gives us a chance to look beyond the myth and connect with the real woman behind the story. She was more than just a symbol of bravery. She was a real person who dealt with fear, uncertainty, and frustration. The wreckage of her plane is a solid reminder of her humanity and the real challenges she faced. The search for Amelia Earhart's plane was tough, but it really shows how far we've come in exploring the ocean. Thanks to modern tech like sonar, advanced mapping, and remote-controlled vehicles, researchers managed to find the wreckage in one of the most isolated places on Earth. Just think about it. What we can do now underwater was not even possible a few decades ago. Finding her plane is a big win, not just for history, but also for science and technology. It proves how much we've improved our skills in uncovering secrets about our planet. But more than that, this success highlights the power of sticking with something. For 87 years, so many people worked hard to locate Earhart's plane. They were fueled by admiration for her and a strong need to crack one of history's greatest mysteries. Even when things seemed impossible with countless challenges along the way, their dedication spoke volumes about the lasting interest in Earhart's story. The discovery of her plane is like the final piece of a massive puzzle created by years of determination and the belief that answers were out there somewhere. Now that her plane has been found, people's curiosity about other parts of her life and career will surely grow. Often her disappearance took center stage, but she achieved many amazing things during her lifetime. Amelia was the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic, breaking speed and distance records in the process. She also championed women's rights, using her fame to inspire other women to chase careers in aviation and other male-dominated fields. Finding her plane gives us a great chance to celebrate all her achievements and recognize her contributions to aviation and gender equality. Plus, Earhart's story can motivate new explorers and adventurers. Her journey has always encouraged those who dream of pushing beyond boundaries. So what else could we learn from her incredible life and the legacy she's left behind? What can we achieve? Amelia Earhart's bravery, determination, and willingness to take risks inspire people all around the world, especially young women who look up to her as a role model for shattering limits and following their dreams. Finding her plane will only strengthen this legacy, reminding us that we can do extraordinary things, even when faced with huge challenges. One remarkable thing about this discovery is how it highlights the importance of not giving up and using new technology to solve old mysteries. Over the years, there have been many attempts to find Earhart's plane, but these searches struggled with the vastness of the ocean and the tech of the time. Early efforts couldn't explore deep ocean areas where the plane was believed to be, but recent advancements in underwater exploration, like underwater drones and advanced sonar mapping, have changed the game, allowing us to check spots that were once unreachable. Locating Earhart's plane has really helped us grasp the challenges of underwater exploration. Searching for a plane lost in the Pacific, especially in such a tricky area like Howland Island, took a mix of cutting-edge technology, careful planning, strong teamwork, and a deep understanding of ocean currents and the ocean floor. The Pacific Ocean is tough, with deep trenches and unpredictable weather, which made things hard for past search teams. But the success of this latest mission shows how modern technology can tackle these difficulties and open up new doors for future ocean research. This discovery also brings up important questions about what's next for underwater archaeology. The hunt for Earhart's plane involved experts from different fields like oceanography, aviation history, and forensic science all coming together. The lessons we learned from this team effort might help in finding other famous lost treasures and ships that are still missing. What else could we uncover? Imagine all the historical shipwrecks, planes, and even submarines that are still hidden under the oceans. The tools and techniques we use to find Amelia Earhart's plane could help us track down other significant wrecks too, whether they're from wartime events, migrations from long ago, or tragic airplane crashes. But there's more to discover here. This whole situation goes beyond aviation. It touches on environmental science and conservation. As scientists dig into the wreck and the area around it, they might learn more about the ocean environment back when the crash happened compared to how it is now. Deep-sea ecosystems are pretty fragile and tough to study since they're hard to reach. But finding Earhart's plane gives us a unique chance to see how objects from the 1930s have interacted with the sea over the past 80 years. What will this tell us about human impacts on marine life? By looking at how Earhart's plane has rusted and what's happening in its surroundings, researchers can find out more about the long-term effects of things like pollution and corrosion on deep-sea ecosystems. This knowledge might guide policies that protect our oceans and help reduce the human impact on marine life. Plus, when it comes to bringing up Earhart's plane, it could really help us find new, less invasive ways to explore underwater. Usually, deep-sea missions use a lot of resources and can disrupt sensitive marine areas. But the tech we use to search for her plane, like remotely operated vehicles with high-tech sensors and cameras, shows that we can study underwater places without causing too much harm. If we succeed in this mission, it might push us to keep improving these tools, which could be used not just for historical digs, but also for keeping an eye on the environment. In the bigger picture, recovering Earhart's plane opens up discussions about how we remember and preserve stories of important historical figures. For years, people have been fascinated by her mysterious disappearance, and this new find just might spark even more curiosity. What stories will unfold next? Now that they've found her plane, people are really interested in figuring out what really happened during her last hours. This isn't just a history lesson, it's about how we think about important people in the past especially those who have become legendary. The discovery of her plane is a big deal because it makes us rethink how we see her as a historical figure. She was already a huge figure in her time, breaking barriers for women and showing what was possible in aviation and beyond. When she disappeared, it added to her mystery, turning her from a pioneer into a puzzle. But now that her plane has been found, we can connect her story to real events, giving us a clearer picture of her life and final journey. This provides a chance to look again at the myths that have built up around her and recognize the real struggles and successes she faced. Demystifying her story is important because it shows us that you don't have to be a larger-than-life figure to be remembered and celebrated. Her life is impressive on its own and doesn't need to be shrouded in mystery to inspire us. Finding her plane brings her down to earth, reminding us that she was not just a bold aviator but a person who dealt with real challenges, had to make tough choices, and faced unexpected problems. That human side of her story makes it even more impactful since it highlights that even the most extraordinary pioneers were, at their core, just regular people. As we move forward, people will probably put more effort into honoring her legacy. Museums, aviation groups, and schools might update what they show and teach to include the new details uncovered from the plane's recovery. This will help ensure that future generations learn about her contributions to aviation, women's rights, and exploration. Plus, finding her plane might inspire new stories and artistic takes on her life, as writers, filmmakers, and artists explore the new aspects of her journey. In short, the discovery opens up a chance for us to look at her life and work in a whole new light. The discovery of Art's plane opens the door for new investigations into what really happened. The state of the wreckage could tell us important details about the crash, like how the plane hit the ground and how long Art and Noonan might have survived after landing. If the wreckage is in good shape, forensic scientists can analyze it to find clues about what led to the crash. For example, looking at the metal parts could show if there were any weaknesses or damage that played a role. Plus, examining the engine could reveal if there were mechanical issues or if outside factors like weather or navigation mistakes contributed to the crash. If human remains are found near the wreck, that could give us more insight into Art and Noonan's last moments. There's been a lot of talk over the years about whether they survived the crash and lived on a deserted island, but finding remains would change that story. Forensic anthropologists could identify the remains and figure out how long Art and Noonan lived after the crash. Did they die on impact shortly after, or from things like injuries or exposure? Getting answers to these questions would help clarify the story of their disappearance and let us piece together their final moments more accurately. Beyond the scientific side, there are moral questions about what to do with Art's plane. Some people think the wreck should stay undisturbed as a tribute to Art and Noonan, serving as their final resting place. Others argue that recovering and preserving the plane is important for understanding our history. This debate taps into bigger conversations about how we handle historical sites, especially when they connect to tragic events or notable figures. The discussions around Art's plane will likely tie into broader themes about remembering the past while also embracing historical exploration and preservation. Plus, there are questions about who owns the wreckage and who should take care of it. After being missing for almost 100 years, the wreck of Amelia Earhart's plane has become a fascinating piece of history. So, what do you think? Should it be preserved in a museum or left untouched where it was found? These are tough questions that will come up as more pieces of the wreck are recovered and studied. Finding her plane is a big deal. It wraps up an 87-year-old mystery and opens the door to a fresh look at her life and legacy. This discovery will likely have an impact on aviation history, forensic science, oceanography, and cultural studies for a long time. Each new piece of information from the wreck has the chance to change what we know about Earhart's last flight and could answer questions that many have had for years. For those who have heard about her disappearance all their lives, discovering her plane feels like finally getting closure. It helps us step away from all the speculation and myths surrounding her story and lets us focus more on her real achievements and struggles. As we dig deeper into what happened during her last flight, we'll discover just how brave and determined she was as a trailblazing aviator. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think the impact of this discovery will be on history? Thanks for watching, and see you next time.